I think what I thought is what my mom taught me. Immediately hold on to God and trusted God, who makes everything all right already.
Shock! Carlos Santana just confirmed what fans have long suspected. At 77 years old, the legendary guitarist has lived a life filled with music, spirituality, and personal evolution, but some aspects of his journey have remained shrouded in mystery. Now, in a rare and candid revelation, Santana has finally opened up about a truth that has been quietly circulating for years. Be prepared to hear things that may shock you from the mouth of Carlos Santana. Carlos Santana never wanted to reveal this terrible thing to anyone. However, until now, he was forced to speak out to relieve concerns about his past. In his autobiography, The Universal Tone, Bringing My Sound to Light, Santana candidly shared a traumatic chapter of his youth, an experience that shaped his emotional landscape for years. As a young boy, Santana spent much of his time attending his father's performances. His father, Jose Santana, was a mariachi musician, and his concerts attracted a variety of people, including an older American man who took an interest in Carlos. At first, the man's presence seemed benign. He showed kindness to Santana, buying him gifts and spending time with him while his father played. Over time, he earned the trust of both Santana and his family. Grooming the young, impressionable boy, the man gradually positioned himself as a friendly and generous figure in Santana's life. One day, the man offered to take Santana across the border into San Diego. Without fully understanding the implications, Santana agreed, trusting the man's intentions. What followed was a deeply distressing and painful experience, one that Santana would carry in silence for many years. The incident left him consumed by confusion, shame, and guilt, emotions far too heavy for a child to bear. Rather than receiving support and reassurance, Santana was confronted by his mother in front of his entire family. Instead of comfort, he faced anger and misunderstanding, compounding the emotional burden he was already struggling to process. The weight of this experience remained with him for decades, shaping his internal struggles and adding to the complexity of his journey toward self-acceptance. In a cruel twist of fate, the man who had inflicted this pain upon Santana eventually suffered a tragic accident, leaving him permanently disabled after a serious car crash. Santana never saw him again. For many years, Santana carried this trauma in silence. He buried it deep within himself, focusing instead on his music as both an escape and a means of expression. But despite his growing success and the accolades he received, the pain lingered beneath the surface. It wasn't until the 1990s that he finally sought professional help to confront and heal from the wounds of his past. In 2000, Santana made the courageous decision to speak publicly about his childhood trauma in an interview with Rolling Stone. By sharing his story, he not only reclaimed his narrative, but also contributed to a larger conversation about the long-term effects of childhood abuse and the importance of seeking healing. His willingness to be vulnerable was a testament to his strength, showing that even in the face of deep pain, recovery and transformation are possible. Speaking about his childhood, Carlos Santana said that his passion for music came from his family. This also surprised many people. His parents, Jose and Josefina Santana, were both deeply musical, and his father, Jose, was a highly respected mariachi musician. According to biographer Mark Shapiro in Carlos Santana, Back on Top, Jose was a member of Los Cardinales, a popular local band that played an essential role in their community. The group performed at weddings, baptisms, political gatherings, and special ceremonies, making music an ever-present force in young Carlos's life. Growing up in Outlan, Santana was captivated by the sounds and sights of the musicians who traveled through his village. He admired the traditional costumes and troubadour garb they wore, fascinated by the way music seemed to hold a special power over people. However, nothing influenced him more than the sound of his father's violin. Jose Santana was a skilled violinist, and young Carlos saw firsthand how his father's music could move an audience, stirring emotions and creating an almost spiritual connection. It was at that moment that he began to understand the immense power of music, not just as entertainment, but as something that could touch the soul. Despite the admiration Carlos had for his father's musicianship, his early experiences with playing music were not entirely joyful. As a struggling musician trying to support his family, Jose spent much of his time on the road, playing wherever he could earn money. Yet he made it a priority to pass his musical knowledge down to his children. Recognizing Carlos's potential, Jose insisted on teaching him to play the violin. But from the very beginning, the young boy resisted. The instrument felt unnatural in his hands, and he despised its rigid structure and delicate sound. For 7 long years, Carlos endured lessons, unable to connect with the violin the way his father had hoped. Eventually, Carlos could no longer pretend to enjoy the violin, and he finally quit. Although he had a deep respect for his father's artistry, the instrument simply did not speak to him. His heart was searching for a different kind of expression, one that he didn't discover until he encountered the electric guitar. Carlos's introduction to the instrument that would define his life came in the vibrant border town of Tijuana. It was there that he first saw the Mexican guitarist Xavier Batiz perform. Unlike the traditional sounds of the violin or mariachi music, Batiz's electric guitar was raw, powerful, and electrifying. The sound ignited something inside Carlos, awakening a passion he had never felt before. He instantly knew that the guitar was his instrument, the medium through which he could channel his emotions and creativity. His mother, Josefina, was instrumental in encouraging this new path. Unlike his father, who was deeply rooted in traditional music, Josefina had an open-minded approach to different styles. She urged Carlos to explore other forms of music beyond the conventional Mexican sounds he had grown up with. Her support, combined with his years of musical training on the violin, made his transition to the guitar surprisingly natural. Carlos quickly immersed himself in learning the guitar, drawing inspiration from blues and rock legends like B.B. King and John Lee Hooker. His early years in Tijuana were spent honing his craft, absorbing different influences, and developing the unique fusion of styles that would later become his signature sound. What had once been a frustrating struggle with the violin now transformed into a love affair with the electric guitar, one that would shape the rest of his life and lead him to international fame. Another of the lesser-known but profoundly impactful chapters in Carlos Santana's life was his deep involvement with the spiritual guru Sri Chinmoy. While Santana is widely recognized for his musical genius and innovative fusion of rock and Latin sounds, his spiritual journey played a significant role in shaping his personal philosophy and artistic vision. His introduction to Sri Chinmoy came in 1972 when he first saw a picture of the Indian spiritual teacher in the possession of fellow guitarist Larry Coryell. According to Santana's autobiography, The Universal Tone, he was immediately struck by the intensity radiating from the image alone. Though he had never met the guru, Santana felt a strong pull toward his presence, as if Chinmoy's energy transcended the confines of the photograph. This marked the beginning of a spiritual awakening that would soon lead him to a deeper exploration of faith, discipline, and self-discovery. In October 1973, Santana was formally introduced to Chinmoy through guitarist John McLaughlin, another devout follower of the guru. From the very first meeting, Santana felt an overwhelming sense of connection. Chinmoy's teachings resonated with him on a profound level, offering an alternative to the materialistic world of fame and fortune that surrounded his music career. Under the guru's guidance, Santana committed himself to a disciplined spiritual practice, embracing meditation, vegetarianism, and a path of selfless devotion. In an act of dedication, he even shaved his beard and cut his hair, following Chinmoy's instruction to simplify his external appearance. Santana would later describe his time with Chinmoy as more rewarding than all the material success he had achieved through music. He referred to this period as a spiritual boot camp, an intense and transformative journey that tested his willpower and challenged him to look inward. Under Chinmoy's mentorship, Santana sought to transcend ego and embrace a higher state of consciousness, something that would ultimately influence both his personal life and his approach to music. For a few years, Santana found great peace and fulfillment within Chinmoy's teachings. But by 1977, cracks began to form in his faith. He started noticing troubling behavior in the way the guru treated some of his other followers. The sense of warmth and spiritual elevation he had once felt was slowly eroding, replaced by doubts and concerns about Chinmoy's leadership. In Santana's words, everything that used to be honey was turning to vinegar. By this time, both John McLaughlin and Larry Coryell had already distanced themselves from Chinmoy, having grown disillusioned with his practices. Santana, too, realized that it was time to move on. While he had gained valuable spiritual insights from his time with Chinmoy, he could no longer ignore the growing discomfort he felt. His decision to leave was not an easy one, especially since his wife, Deborah Santana, was also deeply committed to Chinmoy's teachings. However, Carlos was resolute. While on tour with Santana, he told Deborah that he was through with Chinmoy and was ready to reclaim his independence from the guru's influence. Deborah, though initially reluctant to part ways with Chinmoy, eventually followed suit. 4 years after Carlos left, she, too, decided to walk away from the spiritual community they had been part of for so long. Despite his departure, Santana continued to hold a place in his heart for the guru, acknowledging the wisdom he had gained during his time of devotion. However, their final split was not without bitterness. Reportedly, Chinmoy did not take Santana's departure well. In a move that seemed uncharacteristic of a spiritual leader, he instructed his remaining students to sever all ties with Santana, effectively ostracizing him from the community. Speaking of Carlos Santana's wife, his first marriage was to Deborah King, whom he married in 1973. Deborah was the daughter of Saunders King, a blues musician whose work had influenced Santana's own style. Their relationship spanned more than 3 decades, a testament to the deep bond they shared. Together, they raised their 3 children while navigating the challenges that came with Santana's career as an internationally celebrated musician. Deborah played a crucial role in Santana's life, supporting him through his spiritual journey, his struggles, and his creative evolution. However, despite their long and seemingly strong partnership, their marriage faced difficulties over the years. The pressures of fame, extensive touring, and personal challenges began to take a toll on their relationship. In 2007, after 34 years of marriage, Carlos and Deborah divorced. According to biography, the split was deeply painful for Santana, who later admitted that he had taken his wife's love for granted and made mistakes in their marriage. Despite the end of their relationship, the two remained connected through their shared love for their children. 3 years after his divorce, Santana found love again. In 2010, he married Cindy Blackman, a talented jazz and rock drummer who had been playing with the Santana Band. Their love story was nothing short of magical, and it culminated in a grand, unforgettable proposal. During a Santana concert in Chicago in the summer of 2010, Carlos made the bold decision to propose on stage in front of thousands of fans. It was just 4 songs into their set when Blackman had finished an electrifying drum solo. As the energy of the performance still pulsed through the venue, Santana got down on one knee and asked for her hand in marriage. The crowd erupted in cheers as Cindy, overcome with emotion, accepted his proposal. The couple sealed the moment with an onstage kiss, creating a memory that would forever be a part of their shared history. Their wedding took place in December of that same year, marking a new chapter in Santana's life. Unlike his first marriage, which was rooted in his early years of fame and personal struggles, his relationship with Cindy began at a time when he was more spiritually grounded and at peace with himself. Together, they built a life centered on love, creativity, and a mutual passion for music. Today, Santana and Blackman reside in Las Vegas, where they continue to create and perform together. Their relationship is one built on mutual admiration and artistic synergy. Both deeply spiritual individuals, they support each other not only as life partners but also as musicians and seekers of truth. Santana has spoken about how Cindy brings joy and inspiration into his life, and together, they have found a rhythm that harmonizes with both their music and their souls. Another thing you may not know is that Carlos Santana is a naturalized citizen of the United States. In 1961, just as he was beginning to carve out his identity as a musician, his mother delivered unexpected news that would alter the course of his life. Concerned about the family's future in Mexico and seeing better economic opportunities across the border, she made the difficult decision to relocate them to San Francisco, California. At the time, Santana had only recently picked up the guitar and was actively playing in local bands in Tijuana. He had been immersing himself in the city's vibrant nightlife, performing in bars and clubs where he was often surrounded by older, more experienced musicians. The rowdy yet musically rich atmosphere of Tijuana had become his comfort zone, a place where he felt at home among the blues and rock sounds that would later influence his signature style. The sudden move to the United States came as a shock. Though his father had already established himself in San Francisco and was making a decent living, Carlos struggled to adapt. The cultural shift was jarring, and the environment of an American junior high school felt entirely foreign to him. Unlike the bar crowds he had been used to in Tijuana, seasoned musicians, drifters, and performers who shared his love for music, his new classmates were kids his own age, many of whom had grown up in vastly different circumstances. The structured school environment and the unfamiliarity of American teenage life made Santana feel out of place. Feeling homesick and disconnected, he pleaded with his mother to let him return to Tijuana, where he felt he belonged. She eventually relented, allowing him to go back for a time. However, the reunion with his old life was short-lived. The rest of his family, determined to keep him on the path toward better opportunities, came to retrieve him and brought him back to San Francisco for good. Though he was initially resistant to the move, Santana gradually adjusted. He enrolled at Mission High School, where he found ways to reconnect with music and express himself despite his struggles with fitting in. The city's diverse cultural landscape played a crucial role in his evolution, not just as a musician, but as a person. San Francisco in the 1960s was a hub of artistic and social movements, filled with the sounds of blues, jazz, and the emerging rock scene. Over time, Santana began to embrace the new influences surrounding him, blending them with the rich musical heritage he carried from Mexico. By the time he graduated from Mission High School in 1965, Santana had not only settled into his new life, but also taken a significant step toward his future in America. That same year, he became a naturalized U.S. citizen, officially solidifying his connection to the country that had once felt so foreign to him. Despite building his life in the United States, Santana never lost his deep connection to his roots. He has spoken about how he still identifies with Tijuana and communities similar to it, places where people struggle, but also find ways to celebrate life through music, art, and resilience. His experiences growing up in a working-class Mexican family, witnessing hardship, and navigating cultural identity have profoundly influenced his outlook and his music. Whenever he travels to places with similar socioeconomic struggles, he feels a sense of familiarity, as if he is reconnecting with a part of himself that has never left. On the other hand, while fans have long admired his deep connection to spirituality, one topic he rarely discusses in interviews is religion. However, in a revealing 2014 conversation with Rolling Stone, Santana shared his personal beliefs, making it clear that he does not adhere to any particular organized religion. Instead, his spirituality is rooted in a more personal and intuitive experience of the divine, one that transcends traditional religious structures. Rather than identifying with a specific faith or religious institution, Santana described his belief system as a collection of deeply personal and transcendent ideals. He articulated his faith as holy willingness, divine confidence, perfect perception, sacred certainty, spiritual knowing, heavenly awareness, state of grace, and illuminating thoughts. These words reflect Santana's lifelong journey of self-discovery, emphasizing inner wisdom and the boundless nature of spirituality. One of Santana's biggest criticisms of organized religion is its reliance on fear. He dislikes the way many religious institutions teach people to fear God rather than embrace a loving connection with the divine. He believes that true faith should empower individuals, not make them feel small or unworthy. To illustrate this, he referenced one of Bob Marley's most famous lyrics from Redemption Song, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery." Santana interprets this as an encouragement to break free from limiting beliefs, particularly those that suppress self-worth or confidence. To him, true religion is not about strict doctrines, rituals, or intermediaries between people and God. Instead, it is about recognizing the divine within oneself and living with self-assurance and love. Despite his departure from traditional religious labels, Santana has never wavered in his belief in a higher power. He frequently speaks about his love for God, describing his faith as an ongoing, deeply personal relationship with the divine. To Santana, God is not a distant, judgmental figure, but a loving, ever-present force that exists within all people. His spirituality is expansive and inclusive, embracing elements of various teachings while rejecting dogma and division. This perspective aligns with Santana's broader worldview, which has always been about unity, love, and transcendence. Whether through his music, his charitable efforts, or his personal reflections, he consistently advocates for a message of spiritual liberation. His belief system, much like his musical style, refuses to be confined by traditional boundaries. Just as he blends Latin, blues, rock, and jazz to create something entirely unique, he also weaves together different spiritual philosophies to form his own path to enlightenment. Santana's spirituality is also evident in his music. Many of his songs, from Samba Pati to Love of My Life, are infused with a sense of divine inspiration. He often speaks about music as a sacred gift, something that flows through him rather than from him. In his view, playing guitar is not just an act of performance, but a form of prayer, an offering to the universe. His improvisational style reflects his belief in surrendering to a higher power, allowing inspiration to guide his hands and heart. Carlos Santana's career has been defined not only by his distinctive guitar sound and fusion of musical styles, but also by his willingness to collaborate with a diverse range of artists. From rock and blues legends to pop stars and jazz musicians, Santana has worked with some of the most well-known names in the industry, often blending his signature Latin-infused guitar work with various genres to create something new and exciting. One of Santana's earliest and most influential collaborations was with jazz fusion guitarist John McLaughlin. In the early 1970s, the two virtuosos joined forces on Love, Devotion, and Surrender, an album that paid homage to saxophonist John Coltrane and reflected their shared spiritual aspirations. The project was heavily inspired by Santana's and McLaughlin's devotion to their guru, Sri Chinmoy, and featured intense, spiritually charged instrumental performances. This album set the stage for Santana's openness to musical partnerships, which would become a defining feature of his career. Over the decades, Santana has partnered with a wide array of musicians, including blues icon John Lee Hooker, pop rock sensation Michelle Branch, and Matchbox 20's Rob Thomas. His 1999 album Supernatural featured several collaborations that became major commercial successes, most notably Smooth with Rob Thomas, which won multiple Grammy Awards and remains one of the most recognizable songs of the era. Similarly, his duet with Michelle Branch on The Game of Love introduced his music to a younger audience, proving that Santana's appeal transcends generations. However, one of his more unexpected and fascinating collaborations came in the early 1990s when he teamed up with the jam band Fish. The partnership began in July 1992 when Fish was chosen as the opening act for Santana's 6-week summer tour. Unlike many headlining artists who maintain a distance from their openers, Santana took a genuine interest in the band, mentoring them both on and off the stage. He didn't just allow them to open for him, he also invited them to perform during his set each night, giving them an invaluable opportunity to showcase their skills to a broader audience. Fish, known for their improvisational style and dedicated following, embraced the opportunity to work with Santana, and the respect was mutual. Santana admired their musical curiosity and ability to stretch songs into expansive, free-flowing jams. During the tour, he took them under his wing, offering guidance on how to deeply connect with their audience. His insights into musical storytelling, spontaneity, and the emotional power of live performance had a lasting impact on the young band. The connection between Santana and Fish didn't end with the tour. Later that same year, Santana made a special appearance at a Fish concert in Vermont, their home state, where he joined them on stage for an unforgettable performance. Their musical chemistry was undeniable, and the collaboration would continue in the years to come. Fish once again opened for Santana during his European tour in 1996, further solidifying their relationship. Their on-stage reunions continued into the late 1990s and early 2000s, with members of Fish appearing alongside Santana in performances in both 1999 and 2003. These appearances reinforced the mutual admiration between Santana and the band, showing that their connection was built on more than just a single tour. It was a shared musical philosophy centered around spontaneity, exploration, and the joy of live performance. What do you think about Carlos Santana's little-known secrets? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.